Is this on? I'm going to call this meeting to order, and if everyone will stand, we brought in a flag.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. Next item is if everyone will introduce themselves, please.
Brad Nickham, Treasurer, Director.
Derek Shaw, COO.
Sean Krugerman, Director. Charlie Schultz, Recording Secretary.
Matt Campick, Director.
Sherry Groupie, Secretary.
Janine Grippo, Assistant Treasurer.
Okay, first item is the approval of the minutes from the March 25th meeting. You were all given those. I have it on my computer here. Is there any questions or comments on that? Speakers from the floor, anybody? Okay.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for March as written.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, very good. Okay, the next item is my comments. I'm going to make this short and sweet because we have a lot of stuff to go through. The only thing I'm going to say is that we're in the second phase of getting the land from the state to do the facility, the additional maintenance facilities. I'm learning that working with the state is a frustrating situation because it's slow. So this is going to take some time. We have a lot of things to do, but we're in the process. We got through the first couple of hoops. Now we're going forward. So if everyone will just be patient, eventually we should have that link. The other thing is that once Terry gets into the financials, I think everyone will be very pleased. Golf is doing very well. Food and beverage is doing great. And from my point of view and how I look at things, with the CPA background in public accounting, all I can say is that operational efficiencies are being realized. And that's probably one of the big reasons why we hired this guy here. So kudos to Darren on having that happen. And with that, we'll just go on to the next item and I'll get the microphone to Darren.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things to report on. The age verification survey is complete now. It took us a while. Appreciate the efforts from everybody on my team that worked on it. Charlie and Ken and Michelle and the whole group. It was a team effort, but we got it done. And we don't have to do that again for another 2 years. 2024 audit is underway. And Terry, Director of Finance, and I were talking about that the other day. It's a quiet auditing team. Generally, auditing teams that I deal with are pretty active. These guys are pretty quiet, but they're doing their testing, and we'll just wait for their audit report to come back. Reserve study's underway. We brought that in-house. Director of Finance is now working with the new software that we're going to be using. Software that I've used for probably 10 years. It works really good for reserve funds and reserve planning. And we're going to be doing some training on that as well. One of the things that we did find out, you know, the reserve study that we are operating under now had 600 separate items thereabout. And I think after we did our field studies, we're now reporting almost 1,200 items. So I think some of those might have been aggregate categories in the existing reserve, but I do think we found quite a few new things that probably aren't part of this reserve plan we're working under currently. So we'll be getting all that ready, and we'll be training on that software here over the next few weeks. Asphalt project's underway. It's a big, messy, dirty project. There's going to be inconvenience. There has been inconvenience. And they're going to be finishing up here at the clubhouse facility. I think May 7th is the last day of work. And that'll be, all the striping will be done. Everything will be done. Brand new parking lot. We're going to open the pool up May 8th. It might open a couple days before that. We're not going to publicize that. If people want to try and find their way to get to the pool, they can probably do that. But the official opening is going to be May 8th. We'll also be starting on Clubhouse Drive then as well. And that's going to be inconvenient for a lot of people. The road's gonna maintain traffic in both ways. There'll be flagmen out there doing their thing, and it's just a big project. We're also doing Oakwood and Lesio as well, and we'll try and have some golf cart drivers available to take people to and from their homes. Legal opinion on exterior wall painting. I was trying to figure out, as Bill McGinn, our operations manager, is trying to figure out the scope for wall painting this year. We were trying to figure out what the CCNR say about the association's responsibility for wall painting. My opinion was that all the walls that border common area, like back walls to our homes and stuff, that border common area, the association's responsible to paint not only the stucco step wall or the 6-foot wall, but also the metal fencing that's on there, the metal rail fencing. Well, the legal opinion came back and said associations are only responsible for the stucco. It's not responsible for any of the metal work. So me, I think we should probably have a discussion about that, because I think that if everybody paints their metal fencing a different color, I think conformity and uniformity in some situations is probably best. So we might have some further discussions about that, and maybe we'll adopt a policy on what the association's position is. CCNR say we're not required to do it. It doesn't say that we're not allowed to do it. So we'll be looking at that a little bit more closely this next few months. Remember, emergency contact update efforts underway. We had a few situations. If you were at a couple board meetings ago, there was a couple members talked about people who had passed away, had no contact information. Our office has been reaching out to members who we know don't have that information, and we've managed to update those files, many of them, but there's still quite a bit of work to do. So that'll be an ongoing effort. I think it was in the Monday message as well this week. New purchase order system is in development. It's probably going to roll out in a week or two. I think our Director of Finance is going to introduce that at our manager meeting this Thursday. New pumping system for Preserve course has been ordered, $400,000. And that was a reserve project, and definitely needed, especially as we look at that irrigation system up there at Preserve. New true contract is in development. They volleyed to us, we just volleyed back. There'll be a few more volleys, but we want to enter into, I think the plan is, a 1-year contract. They expire August 1st right now, but enter into a 1-year contract August 1st, see how they do for a full interrupted year, and if they do as good as they're doing now, just move that contract and do a 5-year contract. So more to come on that. Preserve Golf Course renovation is in planning right now. There's a lot of concepts, conceptuals, and funding models and plans that are being considered, but no dates have been set for that. We're looking for a new farmers market. We had some complaints when we told the farmers market last week or the week before, we don't need you to come back because it was kind of turning into a flea market. Liz, who's in charge of Lifestyle, who's in charge of farmers markets, looking to replace the farmers market here within the next 2 weeks. We're bringing it in-house, and then we'll just handle it ourselves with our existing team. Mountain View Clubhouse renovation project. That's a really big project. I was looking at some of the website activity this morning with our marketing director, and a lot of people have looked at that on the website, the renovation project. There seems to be quite a bit of discussion about the different furnishings that are being called out by the designers. So my plan right now is to take that project and split it up and focus on just the building improvements this year, meaning that we would do the carpet, the painting, the lighting, the bathrooms, the granite, get all the building stuff done this year, push the furnishings back, and maybe make that decision in Q4, and then get the new furniture in Q1, and maybe involve some more people in that selection of the furniture. So we're in the process of bringing this project in-house. Like, we were trying to find a GC that could manage all those trades, right? And we had a couple on the line, but only in the end, only one GC came back with a number that took up our entire budget, almost the whole $700,000. And in that budget, they wanted $120,000 for management fees, and we figured that they were putting something on top of all the trades too. And now we decided to bring those trades in-house, and we're bidding them in-house ourselves. We're finding out that the trades are giving us bids half the price of the GC that he was giving us. So I think that's a good thing. We're still getting our numbers. Once we get the numbers together the next month, probably bring this project back to the board in May. We have a new CAM manager, Common Area Service Manager. His name's Larry Wiley. He'll be stopping by here today with Ray Kuhn, who is coming from a dentist appointment right now. And he'll be stopping by. I'll get to introduce him. And we're working on some CAM 5 level stuff. Joe, you go to the next slide. You know, we're trying to figure out the best way to approach CAM level 5. That's the 35 feet after the 8. So we're modeling up in a unit, unit 36. And we're doing mostly hand work. Now, we've taken the big equipment and we parked it. And we're using small hand tools, small hand equipment. We still think we can use our skid steer, but it's out for repair right now. There should be some opportunities. But if you look at this slide, the next slide, you'll see that this work is a lot more cleaner. It's not as messy. It doesn't leave as much debris behind. And you can go to the next slide, Joe. If we can figure this out, when we get to the end of 36, maybe we start rolling this out in a couple of the other units, especially maybe that are adjacent to the golf course, and see how this works. Now, we have a new CAM manager. He brings 20 years of significant landscape, big landscape company operations and organizational skills with him. So once he gets on board after a few months, he might develop his own approach about how to best deal with this. I'm not a landscape expert by any means, but our new CAM manager has a lot of experience. So hopefully he'll be able to get his hands around this and get us pointed in a good direction. So for the CAM level 5 supporters out there, we're not shoving it. We're just trying to figure out how to move slowly and get it done. So that's all I have for my report.
All right. So that brings up Terry to show us all the good stuff that's going on.
Good afternoon. So we're going to go through March financials. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
All right, there we go. All right, so next slide, there we go. So for cash for March, at March 31st, our operating cash was $5,112,000. 3.5 million of that's in investments, and checking has $951,000, and there's another $6.2 million in our Alliance savings. This is a decrease from February of about 4.5%. Reserve cash is $8.4 million. $2.8 million of that is in the Golf 2029 project account. There is also $4 million in investment accounts in Fidelity. The rest is in our checking and savings, and that balance decreased by 5% from February. Our CIF cash is $1.5 million. So our combined cash is $15,116,000, and that's a decrease of $682,000 or 4.3% from February. Okay. Again, these are statement balances, so this will be a little different than what's on the actual balance sheet. This is kind of put together early in the month. Okay. Next slide. We'll go on to reserves. Reserves by complex. In Q1, Mountain View has spent $135,000. About $55,000 of that was IT hardware switches that were needed for an upgrade. Property site CAM spent $123,000, which included a couple new pickup trucks for CAM and facilities. And the capital improvement funds spent $114,000, which included $80,000 for a pool cleaner comfort system and $15,000 for some cornhole equipment. So our total expenditures on capital projects for Q1 was $469,000. So reserves, next slide. Reserve projections. So in Q1 we had projected spending $1 million, $1,070,000. So far, what we spent in Q1 was $469,000. So a lot of this money will just shift over into the following quarters as it gets spent. The variance will be used up mostly by the Mountain View parking lot and clubhouse road repairs. Basically, it's just timing that's going on. In Q2 projection is $1.44 million of projects. That includes more road work and the parking lot that's currently being done right now. And Q3 is $2,012,000 projected, with most of that being roadwork again, and Mountain View Clubhouse revamp and some golf equipment. And Q4 is quiets down to be projected about $343,000 in spend. So our total capital expenditure for 2025 is projected at $4.8 million. $4,870,484. Okay, next, going on to our financial statements, our balance sheet, we have $15,734,000 in current assets, $28,438,000 in property and equipment, that's net of depreciation, for total assets of $44,173,000. Next slide. Our liabilities are at, our current liabilities, which include deferred revenues and accounts payable, is $5 million, $5,036,000. Leases payable, $823,000, and it gives us total liabilities of $5.8 million. So total liability and fund balance, $44,173,000. Okay, balance sheet, P&L, next slide. The income statement. Revenue increased 6.4% from 2024, which is excellent. The amenities net income is up 361% to $359,000 net income compared to a subsidy last year of $137,000. So quite a big swing. Operating expenses also increased 7.6% from March of 2024. And our net income year to date is $863,000 positive compared to 2024 of $354,000. So it's an increase of 143%. So very good. Next slide is the F&B. We did an F&B. So F&B revenue is down 2.6% from 2024, and expenses have gone down by 6.2% from 2024. So they had net income of, as a result, they had net income of $47,000 compared to $6,700 last year. So 600% increase, so excellent on F&B. Golf is doing very well. Golf revenue is better than 2024. Sorry, you got it, Joe, thanks. Golf revenue is better than 2024 by 31%, at $1,224,000. Expenses have gone down by 14.2% from 2024. That could be timing, because I'm comparing through March. So that just could be timing of when they're putting some stuff down on the ground. Golf net income though was $296,000 for the month, compared to subsidy last year of $147,079 subsidy. So it's an increase of 300%. So golf's doing very well this year. Next slide, that's my last slide. So dues allocations, dues per rooftop is $900 through March. So how does that get allocated? Restaurants, golf, theater, lifestyle, they all had a profit, so there's no subsidies for those amenities. So the $900 is allocated, $311 to reserves, patrol is $32, CAM is $151, facilities $159, and general admin is $246. So a couple things were mentioned that I want to mention as well. We did talk to the auditors, and they said everything's going well with the audit, so happy, pleased about that. They just got a little bit behind because of some other projects they had to pick up some slack on for some people that weren't, just for some due dates that they had to hit for some other things. So that's moving along well. PO system should be up and running beginning of May. We'll roll it out to our directors, so they'll have a PO system. And the reserve study, that came out very well. It didn't take long to upload it at all. I have training on that next week, and we should see some better numbers coming out of that. As Darren mentioned, some of those numbers were aggregated. We broke them out. For example, our air conditioning units, instead of just saying, we have $100,000 for air conditioning units, now we say each unit is $10,000, so we know when that particular unit's going to be replaced, so we have a better understanding of what's going on there. So that's what I have, so thank you very much, and have a good weekend.
Terry, I have one question.
Yep.
Could you tell us all the benefit we derive from the implementation of the purchase order system?
Yeah, from the purchase order system, what we're going to benefit from that is we'll get a better understanding of our accrued expenses and how much we have outstanding on the street as far as bills, and that'll help us quite a bit.
I just want to point out, this is my 3rd year on the board, and I'm happy to see that we're finally getting this accomplished. It was a priority for us 3 years ago, so thank you.
Yeah, just keep in mind the last couple of years have been hectic with TEI blowing up on us. Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Terry, I just want to say too, as the third year on the board, we sat here all those times and you'd say subsidy this, subsidy that, subsidy this, subsidy that, and I look and I see 0 for the theater, 0 for the restaurant, 0 for the golf. Bravo,
Yep, that's
bravo.
awesome. They're doing very well.
One question. With the PO system, that'll help also with our accounts payable policy, won't it?
Yes. Yeah, we'll help that. Yeah.
All right. I think
All-around good guy. I don't know, this week's been pretty tough.
All right, we're going to do the facility stuff now, so I'll give it to
So
Darren.
before we get to the all-around good guy stuff, hey Larry, come on up here for a second. So I wanted to introduce the new CAM manager. His name's Larry Wiley, and today's his first day. And we've had first days before.
Yeah, you're all clapping now.
So I gave him a deep background on him. Maybe you can just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been running landscape companies for the last 20 years, and let's see, I ran one of them that I actually spoke in a large crowd here at Saddlebrook one time for complete landscaping, if any of you guys have been here that long. I was the director of operations there for 15 years, or I'm sorry, for 8 years, and then I was the director of operations for Land Tamers Landscaping. That was for another 8 years. So I was an irrigation tech when I actually first started in the landscaping business, and learned a lot about irrigation and how to run the systems and all about them. And now I'm basically the guy that has a qualifying party license for pesticide applications, and I'm also a certified arborist. So I'm hoping to be able to teach the crews that are taking care of the property all about tree care and plant care and soil science, and trying to get them as smart as I am, because I want to do nothing but share my knowledge. And I've already been asked by a couple of crew leaders that wanted to get Spray Tech certified so that they can actually know a little bit more about the chemical application process and safe application. So does anybody have any questions regarding any who I am or anything like that? Oh, you're awesome. I love you guys.
Now for the all-around good guy.
I hope to get a standing ovation later,
Never happens.
I have to say that I did a property at Lakes at Castle Rock. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tucson very much or not, but I took that property over from a company that I won't say what the name of it is, but it starts with an A and ends with an A. And when I was taking care of the property, they had a lot of irrigation problems, and I resolved their problems because they were getting irrigation from a lake. Now, why would you get irrigation from a lake, for crying out loud? That's just dirty water. So it would clog all the nozzles and all the grass nozzles, sprinkler nozzles, the emitters and all that. So I took over and I said, well, let's find a way to get the water to the plants in a clean manner, so we're not clogging. We don't have to keep cleaning out nozzles and filters and all that kind of stuff. So I got a bid from a well company that put in a variable speed motor that actually filled the lakes and was able to provide irrigation at 60 psi at the same time as water coming out of an 8-inch main going and filling the lakes. When I did that, I totally turned the whole property around, and turned it into a golf course-like setting, and all the grass just came out perfectly, especially after I got rid of the gopher problem. And after that was all taken care of, went to a meeting, and it's never happened before, but this board, about the same size as what you guys are, all kind of stood up and just started clapping and yelling and screaming my name and praises. And so I expect that out of everybody here. I'm just kidding. I hope I can live up to what you guys need. That's all I can say.
I hope we don't disappoint you too much.
I can see we have.
Thanks, Larry. Next time, you're gonna want the microphone, because they're all gonna yell at you, because they can't hear you.
Oh,
It's all good.
who didn't hear me when I was talking?
See, they can't raise their hand, because they can't hear you. All right, guys. Bill Gann, Director of Operations, outstanding trophy husband, and all-around good guy. Hey, so it's been a very busy first quarter, and these are some of the projects that we got going on right now. We've got the Mountain View Pool Restoration Project, a lot of reserve projects for the second quarter coming up, projects going on now, and the maintenance program for my work orders, which you guys obviously like because I am getting more and more work orders every day. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Mountain View Pool Restoration Project, which is underway and almost complete, I promise. So they did get the quartz put in, it looks great. We're just waiting on the pool to fill, which is taking us a little longer than we thought. They will be pumping in chemicals tomorrow, and then we will be heating it up probably Thursday. I know it's the day that I said we were going to open, but we are doing a parking lot project, as you all know, and we find that it would be best for the community if we hold off until everything's done and we're not interfering with the trucks that are moving in and out. So it looks like May 8th will be the opening date of the pool. I promise it's going to look nice again, and I will not shut it down for the rest of the year. I'm just saying that, I'm not promising that. Just saying that, just saying. No promises on any bodies of water around here. So the facility project update, next slide, okay. So we've got the Unit 14 wall paint to begin here in the next couple of weeks. I've got 2 bids in, I'm waiting on a third. But I wanted to show you guys the extensive damage and things that are going on around our community. So we do a lot of wall repairs, you can see from the first photo, and I want you to kind of, the picture doesn't do this justice, this paint project that I got on in Unit 14. So I'm coming around here and I've got all this area, and those of you that live up in Unit 14 understand that that is a massive common area. And as Darren alluded to earlier, we are looking at our responsibility for that. Some of the things that I'm looking at is pressure washing down to the concrete block so that we don't have to paint it every year, or every 7 years, 7 to 10. I'm looking at different areas, so the ones in yellow I think are visible areas that I think that have been painted and we want to paint. We're going through a lot, and I just sent Darren my spec sheet that I want to do for the paint, so there's going to be a lot the contractor has to deal with. But I really have to get like this area right here, that really needs to be really, really nice because Darren's house is right here. So I gotta kind of make sure it looks really, really good. But from this map, you can see that it is a massive undertaking, and this is just one of the 3 units that I have to do. Here's 17 and here's 15. The bids that are coming in are quite extensive if I have to do all the walls. So we're looking at, as I always do, to find a better way to budget it and a better way to save us money throughout the community. So I promise you, I will get it within budget. It will be painted. If I don't, well, somebody can grab a roller and paint me. No, man, no. So now, then we got, oh, sorry, go back. The Desert View Spa resurface. So within the reserve budget, thank you, Darren. I'm glad I got a second brain, it's fantastic. So in the reserve budget, I've got The Desert View Spa. This is it's a low-cost item that needs to get done, and those of you that are using the Desert View Spa know that it is cracking and going out. I promise you I will not do it while this pool is closed, but we are looking at doing it sometime in July. So just to give you a heads up, the spa will be closed for about 3 days for the resurfacing. Doesn't take long, it's very small. So that's coming up this during this quarter, June, July. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then using the courts, we have about a 12-year life expectancy. Next slide, please. Ongoing efforts to ensure all facility signs are legible, clean, and properly installed. Why do this? Okay, Arizona sun is very bad, so it tears up our signage. I hope that you guys are noticing a lot cleaner look around here, a lot better signage that we have done. Our welcome signs, we have done our monuments. We are now working on the parking lot signs. Things are getting straightened up. And we want to make everything visible, safe, and clean for you guys. Landscape lighting refresh. So I have in the budget this year to do Mountain View landscape lights and lighting around here. So you will be noticing a lot of our patio lights getting changed out, the arts and crafts lights. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going from basically incandescent lights down to LEDs, hoping to save us some money throughout the year, but also trying to give us a fresher look, cleaner look, and a more professional look. So a lot of those lights are getting done. We are doing a project out on the wedding lawn, which I think will enhance the use of the lawn. It's going to be pretty neat going around a lot of the vegetation, highlighting a lot of the areas, and highlighting the bandstand, which is also probably going to get a new sail over the top of it. So hopefully the new CAM director will help me in cleaning out the view to the mountains. I mean, it is a mountain view, right? I mean, come on, I love pine trees, but let's go. Landscape lighting refresh. Then we've got the Mountain View Bar and Grill patio in-ground lighting. If you notice, there's little lights that go up throughout the patios. My goal is to get them all working. I mean, they haven't worked for years, I understand, and most of you probably don't even notice it. But once they're on, you're going to be like, wow, great, thank you, appreciate it. Well, standing ovation. So, I mean, and along with that, I've got probably about another 50 projects going on that are not quite as noticeable, but there's things that you're going to walk into the room and go, something's different here, but I'm glad they did it. So I hope you bear with us for the year. It's been very busy so far. We've got a lot of projects with Mountain View Bar and Grill refresh that we're looking forward to doing, as Darren alluded to earlier, and we are saving a lot of money from the GC to trying to do it in-house. Little background on me, I was a general contractor for 10 years, so I don't know why you're not paying me the $125,000 to do it, but that's all right, it's all good. But I think you will welcome the new look when it is done, once we get it all done. And Darren promises that he is going to share everything with you. All right, next slide, last slide. This is what I'd like to thank you guys so much for engaging with the QR code. I get a lot of work order requests coming through now, things that my team might miss, or, but I do ask, if you see it today, please try to get it today or tomorrow. Don't tell me it's been broke for 3 weeks and then complain about it. Just let me know right away. It won't be broke for 3 weeks. It'll be fixed the next day, I promise, if I got the parts. So, any questions for me? Man. Thank you. See, there's a gentleman that appreciates it. Now can I get Larry from Trilogy to come on up? We're going to discuss a little bit about the cornhole project.
Yeah, we're going to move that up ahead of schedule because we have the person involved here.
Joe, can you move forward to the cornhole project? So this project's been in development for a long time. Out here, I think they were conceptualizing this project, and there you go. Let's just run through these slides real quick because we've been through them a couple times. So everybody knows where the cornhole area is at down there by Desert View. around by the tennis courts. Those 3 dots indicate where the cornhole's at, right? Next slide, please. There's another picture. When we first presented this project, the project had 5 lights. It's since gone back to the drawing board, and now it's recommended that there's 6 lights, 20 feet apart, 300-watt LED sport court lights, okay? Let's go next slide. And these are some specs that we got from Trilogy on the lighting system itself, and Larry's going to talk about that in just a minute. Let's go to the next slide. We've been through this again. This is the 3rd meeting we've been through this. The purpose for adding lighting is to extend available evening hours of play, especially in the fall and the winter and the spring when it gets darker earlier, even at nighttime and the summertime when it's a little cooler. And I think that area will definitely be used if there's lights out there. Next slide. Project scope, there's 6 LED flat panel lights. These lights are operated on a dual timer system. Lights directionally positioned to minimize light spillover. Electric service is already present. Work will be done by Trilogy electrical contractor. Next slide. This was an FAQ that went out. It still says 5 LEDs, but it's 6 now. Position down lighting. Will the light stay always be on to 9:15 even if no one's there? No. It has to be turned on, then it turns off automatically. Who pays for the electricity? The association. Who's responsible for replacing the lights? Probably the association once they're installed. Next slide. Project cost $48.90. The club's paying for the entire project. It's not costing the association anything. Let's go next slide. We went out with neighbor awareness and we got some comments. And these are comments that we've already reviewed at the last board meeting. But of course, when you're adding lights anywhere in a residential area, some people are going to be concerned about it. But we have to remember that we need to weigh the pros and the cons and make the best decision for the community. So those are some of the comments. Next slide. Suggested motion. So we brought this project to the March board meeting last month, and there was a gentleman in the audience who had some lighting background, and he asked some questions that, quite frankly, we weren't prepared to answer. So because we couldn't answer those questions, we just shut the project down and tabled it until we could regroup and get Larry to the meeting here. Larry, I'm Darren. I'm the COO. Nice to meet you, sir. And we're hoping you can share a little bit about this lighting system. If you can go back a couple slides, Joey. Keep going back. Right there. That's good. If you can share a little bit about this lighting system, Larry.
Well, when they came to me about the lighting, I am not an expert on engineering. I'm just an electrical contractor, so I went to my lighting crew down in Tucson. Can you hear me?
You gotta keep that back.
There you go, Joe. Is that better?
One or the other.
So we went to, now I can hear myself. We went to Dyna Bright Lighting and they were kind enough to design this for us. We gave them all the specs. Again, I'm not a lighting engineer. We just install. And the original project, they come up with 5 lights, which would do the job for the sports court. But we went to 6 because we're going to use the existing fencing poles, which are 20 feet apart, and it balanced it out better. And the fixtures that they designed are top of the line LED. They have built-in surge protection, which is really important for monsoon season. We're going to install them with a timing system where after whatever time we set the clock for, the lights cannot be turned on by anybody. And anybody playing, they have the option of anywhere from 10 minutes to 4 hours to set the timer. And that's pretty much it. These lights that we're speccing are dimmable. Like I said, they have a built-in surge protection, and they're energy efficient. And they're only 300 watt, but they're equivalent to 1,000 watt, like we would have in the old tennis court lighting. The fixtures are going to be mounted on the existing poles, 20 feet apart, and approximately about 15 feet from grade to the top. So that's about it, unless you have any questions.
Joe, if you could just go back 5 or 6 screens. So Larry, these lights, okay, that's the picture. So you see the homes around that general area, tennis courts, cornhole. These lights, when they're installed, how much impact will they have on the homes, do you think?
Well, that's why we went to dimmable. It's hard light up one area but not bleed over, but according to Dynabrite, these will not affect the outside lighting area.
Okay.
It's not like a neighbor having a floodlight
Gotcha.
shining on your house. And I didn't put it in the proposal, but if we ever wanted to, they do make a guard that goes on it. that-
So we found out they were too light, or
Yeah,
the light
exactly.
display was too wide.
Exactly.
We could shelter them.
Yeah, it is doable.
Okay.
We didn't include them because we didn't think we needed them.
Does anybody have any questions?
I know we went through this last meeting, and I think we got it taken care of. We had a motion that was delayed, so is there a motion to approve this project?
I made the previous motion, so I'll do it again. I move we approve this project.
Okay, thank you, Janine.
I second it.
Okay, so, all in favor? Oh, wait, let me ask if there's any other questions. Again, none. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? None. So, when can you do this? When do you have it scheduled?
As soon as Bill gives us the red light, or the green light, not the red light.
Really?
That was gonna be up onto the cornhole court, or the cornhole club. Bob, you got anything?
Nope, we're good.
You got the money?
Well, I'll just say, we were in the midst of fundraising for this, and because of the glitches that occurred over the last few months, we as a board of directors put that on hold. Now that we have formal approval from our HOA board, we will proceed forward.
Want to sell some cookies here? No? Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much, and thanks for that information. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, let's see, we got it back up now. And we're gonna go to the election schedule.
So, this is pretty typical,
This one works better. Next slide, please. So this is the schedule for the 26th
election to be held.
to be held in 25. So this is pretty typical of what we do every year. And so I'll let everyone look at it. And if anyone has any questions.
Larry, if I could, this was put together by our election committee. For any of you who paid attention to this year's election, Mike Brenny chairs that committee, and he and his team did a great job last year. I forget how many sessions you sat through in addition to the primary one. We discovered that was wasted effort and energy. It took a lot of effort on behalf of the candidates, and very few residents were interested enough to participate. So we're only going to do the one candidate form as we typically have done in the past. And so Mike and his team put this together. He met with Chuck and I 2 weeks ago to provide this to us. And I asked Larry to go ahead and approve it so we can get it publicly put on our website.
Okay.
I think it's a good way to do it, too, because
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I make a motion that we approve the 2026 and 26 election schedule as been provided by our election committee.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any questions from the board first? From the residents here? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? None? So that passes. Good. Well, we have the election set. This mic is not working very well.
okay, budget development.
Timeline. And actually, I'm going to have Darren go through this because I want him to explain his process of developing a budget, because it's going to be a little different than what we've done in the past. Just a little bit. So I'll give, oh, you have that mic, okay.
So this will be my first budget cycle with your community and in all large-scale communities like Saddlebrook too. The budget development process is a pretty arduous process, right? It probably takes about 6 months to get through, and there's definitely hours and hours and hours of conversation to try and get something that everybody can agree to. So I think with your particular system, it kicks off at the May 27th meeting. The board is supposed to maybe get with Finance Committee between now and then, but to come up with some general direction. I saw last year there was a memo that was written by the board to the then general manager about things that the board wanted the general manager or me this year to focus on as guidelines when we start working through the budget development process. So once we get that direction from the board and Finance Committee, that'll be communicated through our communication channels to our team, and we'll start working on this shortly thereafter. We're going to start talking about budget development process here in the next couple of weeks with our management team. And Terry and I have already talked about the schedule. So on 6/1, you know, we'll go out with notice to all the clubs, or before then. I think 6/1 is due, but we'll go out with notice to all the clubs and ask them, clubs and committees, if there's anything that they need, any capital stuff or any reserve stuff that they see as a priority for next year, and they'll submit their forms. We'll get all that stuff gathered up for the CIF and the reserves, and we'll see what that looks like. And I think with Terry already working on the reserve program, we should be able to get our hands around how that impacts next year's potential assessment, whether it adjusts or it stays flat. We don't know at this point, but we'll have an indicator how the reserves play pretty early on in the game because we've done all the field work now. And then by 6:30, staff requests and clubs and budgets are due. So the notice goes out. I'll go back to 6/1, notice goes out. Everything comes back 6:30. We haven't set a date yet, but we'll have a public meeting, special finance committee meeting. We'll talk about reserve plan. We'll talk about the capital fund plan with the finance committee. We'll have an opportunity to sell these things on the finance committee, try and get their support, try and reason for them, justify them, and hopefully that process goes well. I'm hoping to be the point in those discussions. I should be able to get through this process and understand your budget enough to be able to present it. I'll have my team around me if I get hung up, but I'm looking forward to that public meeting with the finance committee to talk about those things. Mid-July or end of July, we do our forecast, our reforecast for the year. I'm hoping it's a good one. We're off to a good start through the end of Q1, so I'm looking for that reforecast to be good moving forward through the year, and that'll give some direction in terms of how we focus for the 2026 expenditure operating budget. So draft 1, we don't have a date on that yet, but shortly thereafter, draft 1, I suspect sometime in August, we'll have draft 1 done in the 26 budget, have a 5-year plan, 10-year forecast if it's needed. The policy says the board can request it. We'll probably come out with a 1-year and a 5-year and see how the board and finance committee want to move forward. And then shortly thereafter, director's summary to director of finance. We'll have that opportunity to talk with True, get their budgets, and roll all that stuff up too. And then our presentation, draft 1, operating budget 5-year plan, 10-year plan if needed. I would suspect, Terry, that's probably going to be in August.
Yeah.
Probably August sometime. And I'm looking forward to those conversations and those budget presentations. I'm going to learn a lot in the process. And then from there, we'll move on to a couple public meetings, and then we'll have a special board meeting and try and get this budget slam dunk so we can move into 2026. So, you know, I have no expectations with the 26 budget. I know we're off to a good start in 25. I've heard from certain people about, you know, there should be this type of increase or this increase or no increase. I'm going to go through the numbers. I'm going to present the best budget I can present. And however that budget rolls down based on what we know this year and the last couple of years and what we think we know for next year, those are the numbers we're going to present. And hopefully they align with the board's direction and the finance committee's direction. And if they don't, well, we'll have some good discussions about it. But we'll put together the best product we can.
In the past, the treasurer and the finance committee kind of took a leading role in putting together the budget. That is not going to be the process moving forward. I just want to make it clear that one of my bylaw responsibilities is overseeing the annual budget process,
And my interpretation of that requirement in our new world is that I'm going to be part of the approval process for the calendar that Darren is putting together, and simply just making sure that we're sticking to that timeline. That's it. The other comment I would make is that the Finance Committee, when it meets, I think it's May 22nd, can't swear to it, but that will be the meeting where we discuss the guidance issues that we would then be passing on to the board, that they will discuss and hopefully approve in the end of May board meeting. I do have one question, Darren. It wasn't clear to me, where does the Troon budget submittal happen? Did you say that happens concurrent with the director's summary to Director of Finance?
Yeah, down there about 6 lines where it says to be determined internal, 26 budget director, summary, director of finance, staff, and Troon.
So is your intention to not have that reviewed by anything prior to it going to the board?
No, it's not my intention. I'll probably have golf groups take a look at it too.
Okay, we got golf and finance.
We're in the process of redoing their contract, and in that contract proposal, I'm asking for their budget 120 days before the end of the fiscal year. That gives us enough time to figure out how that plays in. The existing contract says like 60 or 90 days, which pushes it way too far out towards the end of the year. So
that's where I was going. Thank you.
Do we have any questions on this budget proposal, or the process that we're going to go through? A little different than what it was in the past. We're trying to streamline it. We're trying to actually make it better. Any comments from the board?
I just give you this observation. Matt Malloy went through this with us last year. I don't see any problems with Troon. They know the budget process. They know the expectations. And of course, they built a budget that we're executing, that we're actually doing what we said we would do.
Yeah, the main thing is the timeline.
Great.
All you gotta
Okay.
do is tell them. They'll meet it.
Okay. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so here we have, we need to do this appointment to the SBAC committee. And Matt, do you want to take this?
I got it, Larry. Thank you. The Saddlebrook Public Affairs Commission is a joint commission between HOA 1 and HOA 2. We have 4 seats. We, being HOA 2, have 4 seats on the SPAC, and HOA 1 has 4 seats. I'm going to be very honest. We haven't been good participants in the SPAC over the last several years. And when I took over liaison responsibilities, we had one member, one resident, serving on the SPAC. His name is Ron Conkle. He's been serving on the SPAC since November of last year. And so we've been out, as you know, Larry, working hard to find new members to bring into the SPAC. We had 3 new people. We're down to 2. One of them, after our last meeting, voted themselves off the island. And that's why we invite people to come to meetings before we bring them forward to the board. This chart says that I'm going to ask you to approve Jan Howard and Sam Miller. I need to add Ron Conkle as well. The charter requires the board to appoint its members to the SPAC. What happened in this case last year was David Lovendorf was the chairman of the SPAC from HOA 1. He interviewed Ron and he approved him, and Ron's been serving on the SPAC without our endorsement. So I'm going to make a motion today for our board to seat Ron Conkle, Jan Howard, and Sam Miller to the SPAC formally.
Okay, I know Ron was there when I went to that meeting when you guys were gone. Nice fellow, and I thought he was already on the committee.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second? Oh, that was the second. I'm sorry, you made the motion. Okay. Any comments from board members? Any from the residents here? None? Okay, so all in favor of appointing these three? Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, let's get on to the next one, because this is where we're going to get into some controversy, or at least some communication problems here, or something. We have some revisions to the rules suggested by the Rules Committee, and we sent this out for comment, and I think I'll try another microphone. I think there's some misunderstanding on some of this. The first thing that went out is a change for the food and beverage. Is this working? Yes. Okay. In HOA 1, they have a place where you can go and do potlucks and bring your own booze and that kind of stuff. We didn't have any place like that. So what we wanted to do was find a couple of areas in this community where we could do that, open it up to the residents. Well, we found two. The only ones are down at Desert View by the cornhole courts. We have the Ramada there. And also the pickleball Ramada itself. So what we would allow people to do would be to rent those spaces. You can't sell alcohol or food, but you can have a party and everyone can bring their own. Now we're restricted to where we can do this because we have liquor licenses that control the areas where you can't do that. So these are the only two areas we found right now in Saddleback. So that's what this rule change was all about, was to allow people to do that. Now we had, I think, one little misunderstanding with the pickleball, that Liz thought that if someone rented the Ramada, they also had to rent all the courts. So the question is, do you want food and booze on pickleball courts?
Absolutely not.
And that was not the intention. So we will have to straighten, if this passes, we will have to kind of get the information to Liz that it's the Ramada that can be rented, not the Ramada along with the courts. Because we don't, you don't want to screw with the courts. So that's where we're at on this one. We had some comments. The comments from residents were some misunderstandings about some of this. Do we have any comments here from the board? We kind of understood it, didn't we? Any comments from the residents here about the food and beverage situation? We just want to make it fun for everybody. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait.
There's more stuff here. Are you going on to the committee about the flags and?
No, not yet. We just want to do the food and beverage one first. Okay? We'll talk about the others next.
I make the motion that we approve the proposed revisions as presented.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay, but again, I have a question.
Okay.
All right, so, the pool Ramada and the pickleball Ramada, the word facility should go away. And it just should say Ramada.
Right.
All right, okay, as long as it says Ramada, I'm all right with it, and I second it.
And I just wanted to add, on that slide, it says that we recommend that we add a provision that addresses cleanup and pre-registration be limited to 3 months in advance. So that's our recommendation. So maybe if you wanted to amend your motion.
Yeah, I was,
3 months is a long time.
as the revisions as presented. So those were the pickleball Ramada and cleanup and pre-registration.
Okay.
I'm thinking 3 months is a long time.
That's the most.
Pardon?
They can't do it 4 months out, they can
No.
do 3 months
Can't
out.
do it 2 years.
It's just like our meeting rooms today.
Right.
It just makes everything consistent in the community.
I see.
So you amended your motion. Who was the second?
Me,
Okay. Are you on board?
sure.
Okay. Larry, back to you.
Are we all happy now?
Yes.
Okay. And do we have questions here? We have a little amendment to the motion yet. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, this passes. All right, now let's get on to the next one. And once again, it's about flags. all the rules and regs committee was trying to do was keep this in line with state and county law. That's all it's about. Now, we had a lot of people comment and say, well, you know, we don't like this, and well, we don't like that, and we don't like those flags that are listed. Well, that's a state law, folks. Oops. So, do we have any questions from the board on this?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
The only question I have is, they say that for, if you want to do sports teams or seasonal flags, I would just want to make sure I'm clear, you must have one of number one flags, which could be, say, the US flag or a variety of others, and then you can have a second flag if you want, which could be a sports team or seasonal flag, but you need to fly two if you want a sports team or seasonal.
On your...
Only on the house.
There's two flag poles now, so you got to tell which flag pole you're talking about. We have the big one in the yard, and the one on the house, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I just want to, okay.
Yeah, this is, once again, this is state and county law, okay? So we're just following it.
When it originally came out, it only stated you could do that on the house. I took that back to the Rules and Regs Committee. You should be able to fly the two flags on the pole as well, and they cleaned that language up.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just trying to get in line with the laws of this state and county. So, any other questions from the residents? Okay. All in favor of this change? No. Oh, we have a motion. I thought we had a motion. Oh, we had a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept and vote for the new flag revisions. The revisions.
Okay, now, that,
Is on the signage.
oh, there you go.
The
Signage flags, signage, right, that's what it's called.
So I make a motion to move forward with revisions for the signage.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Matt, you got a second. Any other questions? I think we beat this one to death now, so, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, let me get through all of these comments. Now we're gonna do the accounts payable policy proposed. You know, I would think that this policy,
They're concerned because all Sherry's motion said signage, and we didn't talk about flags or fines.
well,
And that's okay,
rules and regs on the interchangeability.
I'm just saying. Revisions to sections 11.03 encompasses signs, flags, and fines.
Who made the motion? Was your motion to encompass all of those rules and regs for signs?
Yes.
And flags?
And signs and
And the
flags.
second, who was the second? Was that your intent?
Yes.
For all of it? Okay.
Okay. Okay, let's call a vote.
It's exhibit number 2.
There.
In our packet.
Okay, so let's make sure we're right. Let's have a vote on this now with the quote revised motion. All in favor? Any opposed? None. Okay, Charlie, are you happy now? Okay, we're going to the next one. Joy, you want to put the next one up? Okay, this is on the accounts payable procedures. The policy. I have one question. Now that we're going to get the purchase order system in, should that be incorporated in how that's going to affect this? In the procedures? Not the policy. Okay, so that'll be part of the procedures, so we're covered there. All right, so we've had a chance to read all of this. Do we have some comments on this?
Yes, give me that piece of paper.
That's the different policy. We're not there.
We're not there yet? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, not okay.
Okay, I want to explain something. Being on the policy committee, Janine, myself, Larry, Chuck,
Mike Lean from Rules and Regs, and Ray Adams from Finance. We're on the policy committee, and we've been meeting every Friday for about the last 2 months. And we're taking these policies that have not been looked at, let alone followed, since 2018. So we're going through because a lot of the policies have procedures in them. We're not interested in the procedures. That's Darren and his staff's business. What we're trying to do is come up with clean policies that this board can approve after you've had a chance to look at them, and we can run with and abide by those policies. Because the policies went on and on and on and talked about procedures. That's not our job. That's Darren and his staff's job. So you were given a chance to look at 4 of them. We're going to talk about some more today that will go out for 21-day comment. There's, what, 23 policies?
A lot of policies.
There's a lot.
It's going to be a while. We're going to take a year. Yeah.
So this is the first one. This is accounts payable.
And just a quick
There's 4
clarification.
look at. These are the ones that have already gone out for comment.
Correct.
We will talk about the next 3 that we will put out for comment. We're not there yet. So
And
this
quick-
is.
A quick clarification, Larry is not on the policy.
I'm not on the policy.
Oh, you're not? That's right. All right, Larry's not on the policy committee. It's just Janine, myself, and Chuck as the
That's
board
right.
members.
That's right.
And then 3 others.
Because if we had 4 of us on there, then that would be a quorum.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. I meant 3.
That's
I
fine.
apologize.
That's all right. Okay.
So you can address these separately or?
Separately, because
Well, yeah, this is the accounts payable. See? Am I right? Or, yeah. So we'll tackle this one. Any questions? The policy people did a great job at all this stuff, so any questions from the floor? Okay.
I have a comment. A member of the Finance Committee put in some comments regarding internal controls. And I would suggest that that belongs in the procedures.
Correct.
So that's why I'm not proposing any changes to the policy.
Okay. And I think Sean was good. Yeah, Sean laid out what the policy is, so it's Darren's job to do the procedures. Okay, so do we have a motion on this yet? Okay.
I move we accept the accounts payable policy after reviewing the comments from the 21-day vote review period.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Brad seconds it, our treasurer. Any other comments? Comments? Okay.
Do I assume this is as it was originally written? I don't see all I see is accounts payable. I don't see anything.
As it was originally proposed, yes.
Okay, so you rejected the recommendation from the Finance Committee. It was not a member of the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee voted. And not to change very much. All the Finance Committee wants is if a change is made in the procedures, that those procedures should be sent to the Finance Committee and to the board. The procedures, when it comes to internal controls, much of what's part of internal controls is in the procedures. And I think it's important enough for internal controls to be sent to the people that can have a chance to look at them and have the expertise to look at them. That was the only change that was expected. My understanding now is the board is rejecting that change. I think it's a mistake.
So right now, the policy says that if there's, once the procedures are approved, if there's any changes, then I have to report that to the board secretary. And then it'd be up to the board secretary to decide.
And then I would take it to,
if you wanted to.
yeah, if I felt, or to the committee. Yes, go ahead.
So, skipping ahead, which I have a fault of always doing. So when we get to the capital expenditure policy, for example, 4.3 says the COO will notify the board secretary of new or changed procedures in support of this policy. You know, if we're going to have it there, I guess the question would be, why wouldn't we have it here as well?
that's going to be in all policies.
Yeah, this was the very first policy we wrote, and we did not have that in there. So, yeah, I guess it's not exactly as written. We're adding the secretary will be notified. The secretary will notify the board, and I suspect if it has something to do with the finance committee, Brad and I will jump on that and bring it to the finance committee.
Do we want to amend this then to include that at this time and then have an amended motion?
Yes, I amend we stick that provision in that we put in like in day 2 or day 3 that we retrofit it to all the ones that were, and will be probably the advertising.
That they pertain to.
Yeah.
Right, and that is any changes to the procedures need to be reported to the board secretary.
Okay. Do we have a second for the amended first? Okay, Sean seconds. Any questions here? Or, Duff, you got any questions on that then?
No questions. I would have preferred the language that will go to the board rather than the way it is.
Okay.
We're dependent now on the secretary doing it.
I
There's
promise
no
to do
guarantee a future secretary will.
Okay. Do we have, all in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? None? Okay, so that passes. So the last one, no, not the last one, let's do advertising this time. And let me get down to it. Okay, you've all had a chance to review the advertising policy. Working? There we go. Do we have any questions from the board about this? This was out for a 21-day review also. No questions? Anybody from the floor? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this advertising policy?
I move that we formally approve the proposed revisions on the advertising policy.
All right, and did we want to add that verbiage in there about the secretary?
I think that's what we did with the last thing. So
We-
we're going
we
to
have to
retrofit
all-
it backwards.
to
So
all.
that's why she
Okay.
used the word revised.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, questions? Questions from the floor? All in favor of approving this, say aye. Any opposed? None? Okay, that passes. Now, we're going to get that board borrowing policy, and once again, I think this is a major misunderstandings. The board right now has the ability to go out and float a loan for any amount the board deems necessary. Okay, so if the board voted to go out and borrow $10 million to do a golf course, they have that right at this particular time. Now, there was a concern voiced by the residents that the board shouldn't have that type of authority without approval from the residents. So this policy was developed to limit the ability of the board to go out and float a major loan. The reason why it was set up to have some borrowing capabilities is in case of something happening that we can't fund, and we have to. Let's say we had a road disaster, and or maybe we have some homes on a cliff, and if that cliff starts falling in, it could cost millions. So this gives the board some authority to make a loan that is restricted to a percentage of the fees. Okay? This was requested by a committee of the residents, and we couldn't get it through the charter because Robeson won't let us change it until they're sold out. They don't want to change their paperwork. Okay? They said, So here we are on this. So do we have any questions?
I'd like to make an adjustment.
Okay.
After further discussion with Brad on this, and that we explain the responsibilities in section 4 about who's going to be the chief operating officer is going to make sure we understand with very accurate financials the indebtedness of the association, and the treasurer or delegated to the assistant calculate the current year POA, which is really easy. But we don't have who's actually filling out the worksheet that we attached to this. So I'd like to add that the COO would be responsible for actually filling out the worksheet, because you're the one who's supposed to confirm that the limit, the president is supposed to confirm.
Okay. I think I would simplify it further. To me, the COO and the Director of Finance are more than capable of determining what our annual dues is for a year. And they're already responsible for providing accurate data. To me, it should just be the COO is responsible for points 1 and points 2, and then he presents it to the board or the president. If the president wants to confirm the calculation, more power to him. And then I think we need to add a language in there. The only time this is relevant is if we're going to take out a more capital lease or entertain borrowing money. So then the question is, what's the effective date when we do this? And to me, it would be the most recent months or quarters closed numbers. So I would recommend points 1 and 2 be just referred to the COO, and it includes doing the calculation. And 4.3 is the president confirms it and obviously presents it to the full board because they're going to have to approve. And it's to use numbers of the most recent closed numbers on the books. You follow all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. And since we're on the policy executive committee, and Matt helped me write this, I don't think you have an objection to giving it all to the COO and then it comes to the board.
I'm very confident that I agree with Brad, that he can handle it. Yeah, I don't need to add and subtract.
Okay, so are you going to then provide that in writing so that this policy can be?
I will do that as you move forward.
Oh,
I do have one question. Under definitions, 3.1, it states the term borrowing in this policy applies to all capital leases, but it never mentions simply borrowing money. Is that, okay.
It's implied.
Just
It's
in.
yeah. It's an accounting thing.
We're essentially saying loans plus capital leases.
Yeah, are part of the current debt, and then you go from there. Okay, any loans or capital leases go into the calculation to determine how much you can borrow.
Right, it states just capital leases, not loans and capital leases, but that's just a term.
It's just a term. Okay. Any other questions? Do we have a motion? I guess it would be an amendment. It would be an amended motion.
I move that we approve the amended motion as just discussed and as Brad over there scribbling down what we agreed to.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Matt seconds. Questions from the board? Questions from the floor?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah, could you come up to the microphone, please?
So, for simplicity's sake, if this goes through, would Mountain View get redone? I mean, without all kind of angst and...
Would we have taken that $6 million loan? Is that what you're asking?
It would be approved by the
It
residents.
would have had to been approved by the residents.
Which would never happen.
Well,
I mean, it could...
we can speculate anytime we want, but we're just saying that that loan would not have been approved.
Okay, how would this board handle that?
So you're asking the,
How would you redo Mountain View?
you're asking the question.
Right.
Okay, I mean, that is the question. We can all look in hindsight and now say, wow, that was money well invested. But that wouldn't have happened 2 years ago.
Correct, it probably never would have been done.
And the question you're raising is this a huge mistake? And what I would say is that I was full-throated supportive of both options 3 and 4 to raise the money. I would have supported the loan, albeit it was terrible terms and whatever, but it's easy for me to say I wasn't sitting in the seat when it had happened. Yeah, where would we be right now if Mountain View was just still a cow pasture?
Well, in a sense, yeah.
Okay, and more people need to be asking that question. I will tell you that what we're voting on here has, from a political standpoint, a lot of support. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the smartest thing to do. But I made the decision to support this.
Well,
And I will add that it's very
Well, I-
common practice, I'm sorry, Matt. It's common practice across HOAs in general to limit the borrowing power. And so that's,
So what? Now, what you're saying is that only a percentage of the HOA fees, it's limited to a percentage of the HOA fees. So if you have $100 HOA fees, how much can the board borrow?
20.
$20.
So let me address the question the way you posed it. Would Mountain View have gotten done with the political realities that we experienced last year?
Right.
The answer is no. There are 3 ways for a board to do major capital projects. The least efficient way to do it is a loan. The next way to do it would be in special assessment. And the most efficient way to do it is to put the money away over time so you have the money to do the project. This community didn't have the benefit of that because it took ownership of Mountain View Golf Course and the Preserve Golf Course in 2018. So when they started to build the capital plan in 2019, that board wasn't willing to go to the community and say, here's the real cost, and ask for a special assessment. Its strategy was to put the irrigation system into the ground, utilizing a loan. That was always the intent of our community, the boards at that time serving, from 2019 forward. So it actually happened. 2022 board borrowed $6 million. As Brad pointed out, and we've all come to understand how costly that was to our community, how inefficient that really was. So last year, this community, $1,500 per rooftop was provided to the board to allow us to pay off that loan that was terrible terms, and now you see that money's invested. So we learned a valuable lesson by the experience that we've been through.
I just question whether or not you'd get another assessment through. I mean,
Let me continue.
I think that's the way to go. But
And then we'll get to your point, because it's a valid point. When the majority of the community is telling you that it will not support spending money for golf, you can project what the outcome of any request will be along those lines. Last year's board, the 2024 board, put in place a plan to renovate the Preserve Golf Course that didn't require loans. It required 4 $300 assessments, along with 3% dues increases, with the known knowns at that time to get us through the entire Preserve Golf Course renovation. That was everything. Okay? Now we're looking at plans that look different. Okay? We're not looking at that plan that we approved last year. We're looking to present the community with a new plan. would this community support a $6 million loan for golf? Based on what I've seen, with the scars that I have on my back, I would say the obvious answer is no. And so we've got to do it the other two ways that are available to us. And that's only spend the money that we can generate, or the community has to come up with the dollars to allow us to do the project.
Yeah, I know it was a fight, but the results came up today. I mean, you know, it's apparent, and from what I've experienced myself after this was opened, was the response from community around us and from even the population was so positive that we've had an influx of income.
Larry, a true believer.
Yeah, well, let me just say this. You know, when you go from a $500,000, well, last year it was almost $1 million subsidy for golf, to where your golf is now making hundreds of thousands of dollars, it probably was a pretty good investment, even though it might have been done a little way that people weren't too happy with. We are looking at the preserve in the future. We know that's going to have to be done, but we're trying to provide for that over the years as we get there to do it. And now that we are experiencing some operational efficiencies, I think we budgeted almost $400,000 in a subsidy for this year for the golf courses, and I don't see a subsidy. So I can't say that. I'm just not very clear on saying that. But whatever the savings are, those kinds of things will go back into the ability to fund this thing in the future. So what we're trying to do here is limit the ability of a board, any board in the future, and this board, to borrow without any kind of restrictions, without getting approval from the residents.
All right, well, my real intent coming today was common area, but that came up, and I thought, oh God, you know, what's going to happen?
Just add to what Matt and Larry have said. I've devoted more than a little bit of time to this topic involving our reserve outlook. Simultaneously, Darren and Terry and their team are putting together a revised reserve study. I don't think the world is going to change when that result comes out. There's just going to be a lot more better. There's going to be a lot more detail. Depending upon how things play out over the coming days and weeks, we'll have better understanding as to what we are dealing with the preserve golf course. And I would just say that given our free cash flow that we do generate now, which is approaching $5 million a year that can go towards maintaining everything, we'll be able to get things taken care of with a minimum amount of pain. And I don't see that this borrowing limit is going to keep us from being able to meet our responsibilities. Is that fair?
Yeah, I just think this is a safety net to keep a board from going out and borrowing $6 million, okay? This puts restrictions on the board.
All right.
Okay, that's what.
I just know that everything can't be solved on next door neighbor.
That's.
Thank you very much.
You're true, you're right. Any questions? We have a comment here.
Yeah, I want to make sure I understood. Larry, you said this board and future boards from borrowing money.
Limiting the ability to borrow the amount of money.
Without first getting.
But that's not accurate.
Well,
This is a promise of this board not to borrow money without asking for approval of the members.
Yes.
And that promise could be broken by this board. It's a promise, and the political fallout from that would be dangerous to anybody sitting in these chairs, but that can happen.
We're not saying that this board wants to go out and borrow any funds. We've already made that commitment that we would do that, all right? What we're saying is that we don't have any control over a future board. This puts limits on a future board. So that was some of the problems with the comments from people. They thought would give a board, or even this board, carte blanche to go out and immediately start borrowing money. We don't have a need to borrow any money. No. Now, let me just say this one thing. Let's say that something happened and it was an emergency and we had to come up with money that we didn't have. This board may be forced to consider getting a loan. All right, there's always exceptions. We have no plans on borrowing any money to do any of the things in the reserve or in the future reserves. But if emergency happened, let's say a cliff fell in and it was going to take a house with it.
I understand all that.
Okay, then I just want to make that clear that you understand that there may be a time where a board has to do
I
something.
understand all that.
Okay.
Okay, but the ability not to restrict the board has got to come through covenant review. Amendment, and that's not
possible
apparently
at this
not
time.
possible, right?
Yeah, not until Robeson's out of here.
And I have a final question, Brad. I think probably this is the fourth or fifth time I've heard you bring up 5 million free cash flow. I'm willing to bet most of the people in this room don't understand what free cash flow is. And you brought it up enough times that I think that needs to be explained to people, because I've been an accountant for 35 years. I don't see $5 million through free cash
So
flow.
if you go to our audited annual financials and you go to our statement of, I call it changes in financial position, I think they call it statement of cash flows. There is a line item there. And what it says is, if you take all of our revenue minus all of our operating expenses, this is your adjusted for depreciation, et cetera, and accruals. Last year, 2 years ago, we had, I think it was $4.2 million in net operating free cash flow.
No, we had $4 million of cash flow from operations.
Excuse me, we're not getting a word or two correct. That is what I'm referring to, and that number is what is available to go towards things. That's the free cash flow that we're generating that can go towards capital projects, whether it's maintaining or something new that's not on the horizon. Right. That $4 million is approaching $5 million if I see where things are going for this year.
But
I think what Brad is saying is that if you take the dues that we get in and you take just operational expenses, it's what's left over that we use to do the reserve funding with.
But the term to account
Terminology. It's accounting terminology.
Free cash flow is cash flow from operations less what you've spent on property and equipment. It's after CapEx. And that number can't be more than $1 million a year.
But if you take the CapEx out, that's
not free cash flow.
Okay, so it's terminology.
It's an important terminology.
Okay, we're battling CPAs here, which I don't want to bore you all with, but it's clearly on our audited financials, and I can't remember the exact words, but it does indicate this is our net operating free cash flow, and it's 4 million something.
You and I will talk afterwards.
That's fine.
Okay, we don't need to bore these people, but I think most of these people don't understand the terminology that's thrown around.
So can we get on with any other questions then? I mean, we can argue about terminology all day, but. Okay, and please, let's hold this back to just comments and not discussions, or we'll be here all night. Okay, yes, ma'am.
So my question is, before you guys vote, can you please repeat the actual motion? And it seemed to me that there were enough changes that is required to go out for another 21-day comment period.
I think there's only one change, and that was to have the COO do the calculation.
No, there were a few others. So.
He's got it written down right here. We'll have Brad read it again, okay?
just taking on what she said from a procedural standpoint, the board Bowering that went out for 21-day comment is now being rewritten, substantially rewritten. So procedurally, this should go back out on this point for the 21-day member comment period. It's not a very simple, it is convoluted right now. People don't understand. It's being rewritten. This side of the board here is interpreting it one way. There's no interpretation because it hasn't, the formal rewrite hasn't been re-presented to the board. So it does come down to the point where there's a significant change to that point, and really, in all fairness to the community, it should go back out so people see exactly what that board Bowering is being rewritten to.
Yeah, the only change I see is under 4.0, and it's just having COO do the calculations, and then having the treasurer okay that and approved by the president. That's changes.
Hey Larry, if I could, sir. No problem. The policy's the policy. Putting it out there for another 21 days and approving it again next month is not a big deal for us.
No, except that the only thing I'm getting at is that the comments that we received were really a lack of understanding of what we're trying to do, so we'll have the same thing again. But we
Remember all those people that didn't want us to borrow money? All those people want us to follow procedures. Let's follow them.
Okay, so do we have a motion then to add these changes and send it back out for resident comment? Brad made that motion.
And I second.
Okay. Any comments? Comments? Okay. All in favor of sending it back out? Any opposed? None? Okay. We'll send it back out. All right. We'll make just a couple little tiny changes, so we'll get them out there. The last one is going to be the common area maintenance policy. And I know that Sherry has prepared some changes, and once again, these are going to be some big changes, and we had some good comments from the public. So do we want to make these changes, incorporate some public changes, consider them, and then send this back out also? And I think that would be appropriate.
That is what we would like to do.
Then let's make that motion.
Well, make the motion to propose changes and then send it out for a 21-day member review.
Okay.
But we need to go what the changes are.
So Sherry distributed a document for everybody to see where she recommends changes to the proposed language. These are significant enough, obviously, to trigger a new posting for 21 days. But the question to the board is, these changes that Sherry proposes, are they approved by the board?
Right.
Right. So
I'd like to go through them.
the ones in red.
I'd like to go through them if I could.
Okay, sure.
On the page that starts with purpose at the top, number 4.21 says the board of directors will create and approve all policies, and they actually just approve them. They're not creating them. Okay, that was a member comment.
So the red block is deleted?
Is delete,
Gotcha.
yes. And some of these most of these are taken from members' comments. So 4.3, under the common area maintenance director, under the direction of the COO or their designee versus general manager. On level 1, just change in wording of taking out complex and put the parking lots of each complex. On level 2, we have specified concrete and rock swales, and there's a variety of other swales as well. It's hard to say. So I think just using the word swales, encompassing all types of swales, should be sufficient. Stormwater is, I believe, 2 words. And I did want to add as clarification on level 2 for water, no, nor shall insects be allowed to become a nuisance. Okay. Level 3, we just had will be maintained, and it should, I believe, read appropriately to their setting. Level 5, where we got the most comments, was for level 5 in the lack of definition and clarification of the term natural settings. So I would like to propose to add to that, the areas shall be maintained as natural settings, but not to appear overcrowded with plants or with plants that are dead, dying, or diseased, or invasive weeds. Any barren areas will be revegetated as appropriate for a natural setting with native mid-level plants and shrubs, cacti and trees that provide non-contiguous ground cover. For level 6, once again, as natural areas, I would propose to add dead vegetation shall be removed from these areas only if in the estimation of the common area director they present a hazard, and only if safely accessible.
So Sharon, where did you get these changes? Comments from the audience? I mean, from our residents?
Comments from the residents, and some of it was verbiage that was submitted with the policy originally before the review.
Okay, thank you.
So a lot of it's correct.
Some words and then some adding some things in.
Do we have any comments or questions?
No, I think you did a good job here, Sherry. Thank you.
I thought so.
Any other comments?
I move we send this revised out for 21 days.
Corrected and sent out.
Corrected and sent for
Revised.
21.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Any comments? From the floor?
You're going to get a new one.
I think instead of saying invasive weeds, you should say invasive plants, because there are plenty of invasive plants that are not weeds. I think that there should be a distinction there.
So that would be under level 5, area
Yeah, we
3.
could say also just invasives.
You want to change that to weeds and plants? It's just invasives. Okay,
That covers
is that all right? Okay, we'll make that one little change. Now,
Do we have a motion? Any other comments?
Vincent?
Okay, we make that
Change. Do we have
a new motion. We have a motion or second? Can't hear you.
Okay, comments? All in favor of the changes and get this out? Aye? Any opposed? None. Okay, let's get on. We're going to go into some new stuff now. That, Sean, these are the ones that we're going to send out for a 21-day comment period. And the first one is relating to our annual budget and 5-year plan development policy. So there's a couple of items in here that were questioned by Darren and myself.
Next slide, Joey.
Oh, we have slides, that's right. Okay.
You're starting with capital expenditure, or you're starting with audit or budget?
Well, I have here in my computer, annual budget and 5-year plan development.
Can I just say, as a co-author, I'd like to remove 2 items, 4.4.3 and 4.4.4 before we send it out for comment.
Okay.
They're not within the scope of the Facilities Planning Committee.
Okay.
And they also don't match the document that was just shared.
That's true. Okay, so,
We're requesting revise, removing 2
items, any questions on that?
Okay, I'm really lost, but that's, okay. What policy are we talking about?
This
Audit?
one? Yeah.
No.
No.
Annual budget.
Annual budget. Yeah.
They're just out of order.
Oh, they got it.
Okay, all right, I'm looking at the wrong word, thank you. Okay, so we're doing the annual
Yeah.
5-year.
Joey, can you
annual
get that
budget,
up?
5-year plan, and the word budget should get there, but it's not there, okay.
It's not.
All right, so you're taking out what, Janine, your 4.3?
I'm taking out the two items that were associated with the Facilities Planning Committee, which were 4.4.3 and 4.4.4. It is not within our scope to be involved in the budget
Okay.
of the current year.
And
Okay.
then,
We're not into that one yet, Sean.
okay.
Okay, so we have a request to change this. Any discussion on that? I agree with her. So do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Do we have a discussion from the floor on that? You haven't seen
You haven't seen it.
We have no idea. See you guys.
This is conditional approval.
We have no idea what
That's
you're
right.
talking about, because there's nothing up there for us to look at.
So, all in favor of making these changes, getting it out for the 21 days? Any opposed? Okay, it passes. Let's go down, because this will go out now for 21 days. Let's go down to the next one. Now we're to the audit policy. So, I don't know, Joy, you got it up there? Yeah, we're just getting all that. So, you've all seen it. I don't have any questions. Do any of you have any questions on this one? Okay.
So 4.4, the second sentence says, the Finance Committee's chartered subcommittee is, and here are the key words, available to assist at any point in the audit. I have no idea what available to assist is trying to convey.
Well, history, we've had past treasurers assist Terry in the audit process. And so I assume that's the audit subcommittee of the Finance Committee, or just smart people that did it. But
How would Mark have assisted in the audit?
I'll let Terry explain this.
So I think what Matt's referring to is historically, we had Rhett Benedict and Joyce Howard. They were very good at helping with audit at the time. I was relatively new. Things had blown apart basically with our inter-fund accounting that was going on and some prior things that were happening before I got here. So they were very instrumental in helping us get through those audits. Last year, as Brad said, Mark wasn't helping with the audit in any way, and now the treasurer really doesn't need to be involved in the audit. They can oversee it, that's about it.
Right, and I mean, my involvement is I've had a 30-minute conversation where the auditors, they were here for one day, and they just asked me some basic questions, mainly around internal control issues. So I guess, I'm not sure that's one sentence there, whether it refers to a treasurer or finance committee. We still have an audit committee, correct? A subcommittee? I mean, I have not seen it convened.
There's no charter subcommittee.
Correct. So my issues is this 4.4, I'm not sure it's relevant, what it's trying to accomplish. The rest of it I'm good with.
So you would like to have that last line removed then? Or maybe the whole of, let me see if I can.
It also says the finance committee's got to.
It says the finance committee, but we can remove the last line. Yeah, because we don't have a chartered subcommittee right now. Everyone good with that? Okay. So, do we have a motion to get this out to the people with that one line removed?
I have a motion that we adjust this draft and conditionally approve it to be sent out for 21-day review by the residents.
Okay, a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions on it? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Question? We got it. Okay, no comments. Because this is going to them. Now the capital expenditure policy.
We have someone approaching the
Larry, I'd like to help clarify something that you were just talking about regarding audit and subcommittee in the finance committee. I've done finance committee for 5 or 6 years, that's always been in there. The purpose of the subcommittee was to go in periodically during the year to check that the balancing was being done, so that we didn't get to the end of the year and find out that a checking account, a savings account had not been balanced correctly. That was specifically defined as how this would happen. Over time, because of some of the issues of conversions and reconversions and all of that, there wasn't time to allow it. But it was a very active group that would go in and look at many of the accounts receivable, all of that kind of stuff, to make sure during the year that the actual year-end audit would be smooth because we were up to date. Also, prior auditors have requested that there be an audit committee or subcommittee. They wanted that as a protection for them, that things were getting done. They were going to show up and find out that nothing had been done. So getting rid of it ignores what the purpose is.
I don't think we're talking about not needing an audit committee. Okay. The other point is, so we've got bylaws, we've got policies, and we've got procedures. The bylaws actually require the treasurer or the assistant treasurer to do certain things. Once a month, we're looking at all the bank reconciliations. We're looking at all the bank statements, and we're comparing them to the trial balance, okay? And Terry can attest that we have discussions, okay, coming out of those things. There was language in the bylaws that we changed back in January or February where it was very onerous and unrealistic for an unpaid person to, I can't remember the language, but it was essentially said, you will make sure all this stuff is accurate.
Ensure.
Yeah, ensure, assure, whatever. And we changed that to oversee. The auditors, to do their job, to do a real full scope audit, are going to charge us how much for how many hours? Okay. We can't do that. Campbell couldn't have done it. That committee could not have done it. What is realistic is that we are doing a quick half hour to an hour, half hour, things are clean. We look at the bank recs and we make sure that timing differences and things in transit make sense from one bank account to the other. But there are reconciling items that involve hundreds and hundreds of checks. We're not looking at those checks, okay? We're not doing a full scope audit. So I want to be clear that we're not doing something that would be considered an audit, and it's not realistic. So the language that previously existed wasn't realistic. I don't care how many people you add on it.
Okay. We need a motion, and we got a second. All in favor of sending this out? We're sending this out for comment.
It's conditional approval to be sent for the 21-day review.
We got kind of lost in all the stuff that's going on. This would be audit policy, okay? So, do we have a vote? All in favor of this audit policy? Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, it passes. Now, let's get down to the last one, the capital expenditure policy. Janine?
I just have a correction, and it's not, doesn't change the intent. It's the 3.3, which was describing the SIF, referenced the capital improvement fees, when last week we were looking at another such policy, and that's really called the community improvement fee. So it's just
it's a verbiage thing.
It's a verbiage thing, and it's in the CCRs as the community improvement fee. So just change the word capital.
3 should say change capital to community.
Only where it
improvement.
says fees, that's the third sentence.
Okay.
The third sentence. So it
Okay.
is a capital improvement fund.
Fund with a community improvement
Which-
fee.
With a, yes, community improvement.
I
yes.
can't believe you caught that.
We caught it last week, right?
Yeah, we saw it last week when we were working on it. The
Okay.
other thing, in concert with what Janine said earlier on the other policy, I'd like to drop down to 4.0, the responsibilities, and I think the 4.5, the association's facilities advisory planning committee, that should also be removed,
Okay.
Yes, I
right?
agree.
Okay, so with those two corrections, any other corrections or comments on this one?
So Janine, I'm not clear.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was looking at the one above it. No, in the pre-planning, we do recommend, the facilities planning committee will recommend sources of funds for projects.
But, that's fine, but I think the finance committee does that. It's kind of like an overlap.
Yeah, well, yeah, we work together.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it goes to the finance committee, why would you take it to a separate committee in addition to?
Because
So
we're
that's the
looking at it 2 to 3 years before it gets to the finance committee during your budget process. So it's a recommendation we'll make that'll go into the planning, the detailed planning that'll come to the budget process.
Okay. Do we have any other comments on that? So we have one comment to remove 4.5 and one comment to leave 4.5 in there. So we
We
need
don't want to remove 4.5.
Well, we have one comment to remove 4.5 and one comment to leave 4.5. So we'll have to do a vote on that before this goes out, okay? For comment to.
I think the reason it should come out is because it matches what you took out from the other one.
But that was the budget process. That's very different.
Yeah, this is long-term planning, I don't have a problem. It's a God.
You have a problem leaving that in?
No, all they're doing is, they're offering a suggestion for future consideration by the finance committee. I don't see any harm in that.
Okay. The thought, it's not real clear because it could have been a overlap of the finance committee. So what we're saying,
What she just described, here's 3 years, finance committee's putting 26 together, and they want to be out here working on 27 and 28. And then they want to give ideas for the finance committee to do their number.
okay, that's fine.
exactly right.
So it looks like we'll leave 4 or 5 in there. We will
Go
change.
ahead. As long as, is there any word we can put in there or a phrase we can put in there to say that it's going to be prior to the finance committee seeing it?
It says within committee scope. So when you read the committee charter and scope, that's where it'll be.
Yeah, we don't have that yet, so.
Okay.
All right, so we've made just a couple changes up on top. We're going to call it, instead of the capital improvement fees, we're going to call it the other comment. Community improvement. Okay, with that change then, do we have a motion to change that and send it out to the residents?
I move we make that correction and send it out for
I'll
21-day
second it.
review.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, that's the end of these things. Now let's get down to club licenses.
Something easy.
Club licenses are next on the. We have a committee that went through all of our club licenses, and I think you did a great job, okay, on what you came up with. And they were submitted to Darren, they were submitted to us to review. So, do we have those up there? I mean, oh no, we don't. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about it then. And it's just a rewrite of the licensing we had with some refinements to make them all kind of the same, so that we didn't have 5 or 6 or 10 different club license terminology. Now it's all one terminology, and it's designed for each club as far as the pieces that they're going to do. Do we have any questions on that here?
Did everybody get them? Because I did email them all out. Okay. So
They all went out, yeah.
There are 4 licenses.
4 licenses.
Which is for Easy Riders, the softball club, the computer club, and the dog park. And
How many more licenses are there?
That's what we're gonna use.
that's topic for another day. We met with the individuals that are the heads of the presidents of all the clubs to get all of their input, along with a standardized form, so indeed they are far more consistent than they were prior. And so far I've heard back from 3 of the presidents with the new ones, and they've all approved them. So just waiting for one more.
Okay, they're all 1 year, renewable after 1 year, and they didn't change much, but it made it more consistent with everybody, and I think it really made things fair amongst the clubs from my point of view. So, there's no vote.
Back to the May 27th.
This will come back to the May one, and then we can get them signed and get the clubs to sign them and everything. Okay.
Let's get on to the
Facilities.
Go on for 21-day comment.
No.
Again, I'm gonna ask the question, we've got 4. Are there more licenses that we need to look at? No?
We're only gonna do the 4.
Okay.
Okay? Facilities Planning Committee. They, wait a minute. No, it's coming back after the main thing. Okay.
Excuse me, I have a question then. So as a club, if we have a pre-existing license and it's not one of the 4, does the license that we currently have transfer moving forward?
There are 2 existing club licenses that we've not yet delved into. So we'll be contacting their cornhole and horseshoes. So we'll be contacting those 2 clubs
So
to go over
then
theirs.
you basically avoided answering Sean's question when she asked, were there additional licenses that needed to be reviewed?
Well, there's 2 that are, yes, there are 2 that we need to discuss with the club presidents and.
Only 4 are going to the main.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just clarifying because she asked, are there additional ones?
Bob, let me
Yes.
help you. The expectation when we come out of this process is you will no longer have a license agreement with the association. Okay, we're going to treat you as an amenity without a club, without a license agreement. That's where we are right now, working this out.
Okay, very good, that's all we need, thank you.
Yeah, it's not been finished yet. That's in the works.
That's our recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. The next item will be the Facilities Planning Committee. The committee submitted their charter to Darren and myself and a few board members. And Darren felt that there were some questionable items or some things that needed to be reworked. Here I go again. So anyways, we met with the committee chair and the committee liaison, and we provided them with some guidance and asked them to go back to the committee and rebuild their charter based on the procedures or the policy and the scope that was provided them. We don't have that yet. They will be meeting in May to work on that. So at this time, we have nothing to discuss, okay, until that is done. So that, now, we did the cornhole. Let's talk about making some money. We have proposed cell tower.
We're all running out of juice.
Yeah, you got 2 hours of living.
This one's working.
Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So right now we have three cell towers, and they're all Verizon affiliated, and they're up there on the hill behind the Golden Ranch Fire Department up there as you head towards Preserve. You can see them from a lot of different places around the community. This is the money that they generate, which is free money, and I think that the community has a responsibility to provide opportunities for different cell providers or mobile providers, AT&T signal up here is not that good. They want to put a tower right next to these other three up there. And it's a smaller tower, smaller cactus tower. I think it's only 48 inches or 5 feet. Let's go to the next level. So what AT&T is offering is $5,000 one-year option with an extension, with an extension of additional 1 year for $5,000. 48 faux cactus, 25 leased area, 25 by 25 square feet. Commencement will begin when AT&T exercises the option. Rent will start at $2,700 a month, escalated 3% per year. Southbrook 2 receives 25% of the rent, $2,700 per month for any subleases. Sometimes these carriers will let somebody else jump onto their tower. If they do that, we have to be involved in that. It's in the contract. We'll get a piece of that. And if the board wants to move forward, we can package all that up and send it to our attorney, to have our attorney go through it to make sure all the protections are there. But it seems to me, it's going in the same spot that the other three are. It's not as tall as the other three are. It serves a purpose for our community, and it provides free money. So far as I look at it.
You mean I won't have dropped calls and not getting through to my friends who are on AT&T because I'm on Verizon?
Yeah, but they can tell you they're going to raise their rates to cover the cost of this. So this is the proposal. Do we have any questions on this before we ask for a motion? Okay, any questions from the floor? I mean, free money here. We're going to have a baby saguaro.
Free money.
Free money. Okay, do we have a motion to accept this proposal and let Darren take it forward?
I would love to make a motion to accept this proposal and let Darren take it forward.
Okay, and a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, any questions? Questions from the floor? All right, all in favor? Yeah, get that box. Okay, good. That one goes. Okay, Darren, we're going to give you the next thing.
Okay, this is the last item on the agenda. So we had a member of the community file a complaint with the board against 2 board directors. And the complaint alleges that 2 board members, namely our president and our secretary, violated the board of directors code of conduct. And our procedures in the code of conduct say that if it's determined, I'll read it to you. It says, directors and committee members who violate the code of conduct are deemed to be acting outside the course and scope of their authority. Anyone in violation of this code of conduct may be subject to immediate disciplinary action, including but not limited to censure, removal from committees, removal as an officer of the board, request resignation, recall by the membership, legal proceedings. That's the outcomes that can occur if the board deems that that the claims that were made about these directors violate the code of conduct. If the board agrees that the comments that were made violate the code of conduct, then the board has a responsibility to appoint an executive committee of the board to investigate it, and then make a report to the board and a recommendation on any action that can take place or should take place. So the first thing the board should determine, or the remaining board members, I think that Larry and Sherry need to recuse themselves. So the remaining board members need to determine if the claims that were made about them violate the code of conduct.
May I speak?
Yes.
We have all had an opportunity to read the complaint. I make a motion to dismiss the complaint as there is no evidence of violation of the code of conduct.
And is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion among the remaining directors? We can't really involve member discussion in this item. Is there any other discussion among the remaining board members? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? So we have a majority of the board all in favor of dismissing and saying that they don't believe that they violated the code of conduct. So I'll give the mic back to Larry.
Well, we're to the member, or to the resident comment period, and we're way over time, and we've had a lot of comments, but we'll take some if you have some.
Hi. My name is Ranger Bolt, and I'm Unit 46. You started the meeting by telling us that you're still on progress in purchasing that state land.
Correct.
A while ago, there was an activity going together with HOA 1 where they're going to be building a woodworking shop. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not, but it's gotten postponed for some other activities that are going to be taking place in HOA 1. Is there a possibility that a woodworking shop could be, I see a head shake, but is there a possibility that it could fit on that land?
Well, let me put it this way. The state is allowing us to buy 1.25 acres where they normally would not ever make that offer. It is contingent upon us doing a maintenance facility because we have 2 maintenance crews working out of one facility and it's unsafe. That's why we're getting it. So we can't change that.
If HOA 1 wants to build a woodworking shop, we will be more than happy to use it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Patty Pies, Unit 25, Lot 26. Thank you for approving the paving. I really appreciate it. I don't have to go to the chiropractor when I go to Desert View on my golf cart. The one thing I have is that, and I mentioned it, I sent a request about safety, and no one answered me, so I'm going to do it again. I hope that the new paving in the parking lots are marked for which side of the street you need to be on when you go in, when you go out, even just a line that shows different sides, because I notice a lot, especially here, is when you go out, people go on the other side, they think it's one way. So I'm hoping that that happens when the new paving comes on like Desert View and here in Mountain View.
We'll do that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Because I've gone out the wrong side once or twice before.
Okay, I'm representing myself in this. Bob Andronowitz, Unit 25, Lot 26. I just want to make a brief comment regarding the committee structure that we have in Saddlebrook. Committees should be representative of the members as a whole. And we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we rotate about 180 homes annually. So over a period of time, that's a significant amount of homes and a significant amount of new home members. Our committees right now are pretty restrictive in the ability for new members to participate. We have several committee members that are seated on multiple committees, which in doing so removes extra seats for additional members. And we also have what I commonly refer to as the Supreme Court of nominations. Once you are on, it seems you are on forever. We should consider looking at restructuring the way our committees are set up so that if you want to be a participant on a committee, it's limited to 1 seat. Pick and choose the committee you feel you're best suited for. And after that, there should be some time frame that a committee member participates in. This gives a fresh approach to the committee structure, and you keep getting fresh ideas. Right now, I've personally sat in many different committee meetings, and there's a lot of staleness of things that go on. And I think by having new members come in at predetermined periods of time, it's going to bring fresh concepts to those committees.
Thanks, Bob. Right now, when there's an opening, it's advertised and they try to get new committee members to come. And unfortunately, we don't get a lot of feedback from folks and a lot of folks wanting to be on the committee. That's part of our problem. So, but there were good comments and I'm sure that we can work on that.
Paula Arnold, 44A, Lot 19. This gentleman had a concern about his club, and then somebody said he would be an amenity. Can you explain the difference between a chartered club, I guess, chartered, versus an amenity? the computer club, is that a club and you pay an annual dues to be in the club? But an amenity is tennis?
Well, let me help you. Brother Darren has taught us all a lot here in the short time that he's been here. The corporation owns everything. Okay, the corporation owned that multi-purpose court that we turned into the cornhole complex. Based on Darren's tutelage, it's our obligation. We have the reserve funds, so we just finished it for you. But the next time it has to get finished, the corporation will be doing that because it's in the reserve study. So we put together a license agreement with pickleball that never needed to be put together. Okay, if that makes sense to you. The pickleball, I'm sorry, the cornhole, what's it, cornhole club?
Club, yeah.
The cornhole club has the responsibility for running its activities. When the cornhole club's not doing its activities, residents have access to those courts. And so that's why we don't, softball, to get on the softball field, you have to go through the SSSA because of the responsibilities that we have delegated to them. To get on the cornhole courts, you do not have to go through Bob outside the hours their clubs operate. That's the distinction.
And then the last part of my questioning is, what amount of revenue do each one of the clubs put back into the HOA funds?
None. Zero. Zero. Except for community circle players. Not that I know of that anybody else gets revenue.
Well, I guess let me clarify my question about amenities versus clubs is which clubs put money into the HOA versus amenities put money into the HOA?
The clubs, when they charge a fee to be part of the club, it's so that they can buy their equipment specific to that club, like the computer club. They take care of all the computer stuff. If they have to, let's say they wanted to remodel the room that they're using, they would submit that to the HOA, but they would be responsible for changing it the way they wanted to and pay for it. An amenity would submit a proposal to have something done, let's say new windscreens on the pickleball courts. That would be covered by the HOA. When the courts need to be resurfaced, that would be covered by the HOA. Your Easy Rider Club has spin cycles that are specific to the Easy Riders. They are responsible to purchase those as a club and to take care of them. If they were an amenity, then I think the HOA would have to pick up that equipment.
So I guess the difference between a club and an amenity is the club uses the HOA facilities at no cost.
At no cost.
And an amenity is available to anybody at any time.
That's correct. Yeah, that's not restricted.
Well,
Not restricted to just
right.
a membership.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. They're almost one and the same, but the slight differences, so we try to allow them to handle everything, but we give the licenses for the clubs. Anything else? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.